Good afternoon or evening, everyone. In today's video, we're going to be once again eyeing the models for a potential mind-blowing winter storm targeting the eastern U.S. What you were just looking at there was the 500 HPA geopotential height, and we are kind of looking at these areas of colors, pretty much blobs, and these are different kind of troughs. So we have kind of a little trough right here, very tiny trough of warm, and we also have a little dip of also another trough moving in here, and this is going to be the next storm we're going to be talking about here, and this is going to be Thursday, so there's really not much going on, as you can see, on Thursday late night. But this is, as we move forward here, this trough starts to strengthen substantially. As you can see, it's becoming pretty strong here now over the Midwest. And we also have a very large area of high pressure moving in to the northwestern U.S., possibly bringing some above average temperatures as well over there. But as you can see, this expands as it goes over the Midwest now into the Ohio Valley. As you can see, you're starting to get those greens, which is indicating a very strong trough now moving into this area. This is going to bring the next storm here that's going to be heading northeast into this type of area and could bring a pretty major nor'easter type of system into kind of that nor'easter prone area. We're going to be moving forward here, and this strengthens very much. As you can see now, purples over here, a large purple blob over there in North Carolina and Virginia as well, and that's going to be moving here as we do have this kind of trough over here that is helping it move a little bit more northeast. However, we do not have much to the east here, so this looks to be going into that kind of nor'easter direction. If this fully verifies here, this is just the GFS model. We're going to be looking at the European model as well. But as you can see, it is very strong here as it goes into just near Delaware. It does kind of weaken as it goes over the northeast there. As you can see, weakens very substantially. And then we get another area of purple blobs, but this time it's on the west coast. And as you can see, it doesn't do too well on the west coast. It does bring a kind of stream of rain, so kind of that atmospheric river you saw last year, but just not quite as strong. But you may see some sort of atmospheric river going into the southwestern portion of the U.S. And then that pattern, as you can see, that polar vortex possibly dipping down in early February, but that's 372 hours out. We're only looking at about around 120 hours out for this potential major winter storm. So we're getting closer and closer here, and this is just happening this weekend here. So we still have about 3 or 4 days until we get the full details on this, but it is hinting at possibly a pretty big storm if this actually does verify. We're going to look at the precipitation type model. This is the GFS model again, and this is actually showing kind of your future radar you typically look at on stuff like the Weather Channel, AccuWeather, and stuff like that, except it is one model. And typically those types of apps and websites for that future radar, they typically combine a few short range models like the ARRR NAM 3 kilometer model, and then they kind of tweak it a little bit. But this is just straight up GFS model that we're going to be looking at, and then we're going to be looking at the straight up European model to see what we could see. This is going to be the 26th at around 9 a.m. and as we move forward here, you can see that rainfall starting up there in the southeast, and you see that low pressure system starting to form just off the coast of North Carolina. And that's going to be slowly moving here towards the northeast, just not quite making it to the northeast, but still bringing those impacts, of course. And this is going to be the 28th at around 6 p.m. here. And as we head forward at around 9 p.m., you can see the heavy rainfall around that low pressure system. A lot of that snowfall is starting to fall over there in Tennessee, West Virginia, Pennsylvania is also starting to see some snowfall from that as well. And then that's starting to head a little bit north here until it heads a little bit northeast once it heads into more of the Massachusetts area. As you can see, a heavy snowfall is reaching all the way from Maine all the way down to South Carolina there. That's where all of that snowfall is going to be impacting here, and most of the rainfall is going to be staying offshore. And as you can see, it heads more north into portions of North Carolina with extremely heavy snowfall there in those pink and purple colors just north of that low pressure with 978 millibars. that could be a kind of a category 1, maybe category 2 strength of hurricane. If those hurricanes typically go down into the 978 milliball range if you are kind of a category 1, category 2. But of course, this is not a hurricane. This is a winter storm we're talking about here with 978 millibars of pressure. So that is pretty strong here, and it continues to drop as it approaches Maine with 976 millibars. So we could potentially see some blizzard conditions over there, and even possibly New York City could see a little bit of blizzard conditions there as it heads into Maine. So as you saw in the thumbnail, this could be a pretty major storm if this actually does verify according to the GFS model, and this is going to be weakening very fast, as you saw in the geopotential height. Just as it heads off to Canada, it's going to be weakening due to it's kind of running out of that moisture. So it's going to be running out of pretty much energy here as it heads into Canada, and that's going to pretty much become a little snowstorm that is going to be impacting Canada later on. So that's going to be happening from the 28th at around the afternoon hours all the way to the 30th here, early morning hours. So this will be probably around a 2 or 3 day event according to that GFS model, of course. Now, as you look at the European model, this is actually agreeing a bit with the GFS model. Finally, of course, this is going to be a little bit slightly different. A very slightly different approach here according to the European model. As you can see, let's move forward here. This low pressure system actually forms just off the just a few hundred miles off the east coast of Florida, and this starts to travel on the Atlantic Ocean. As you can see, it's a little more eastward due to there not being much of a trough over here that is going to be carrying more northward until you get more north, of course. So this is not going to be impacting this type of area too terribly, but this area is going to be looking to be impacted the most by this potential major winter storm here. As you can see, it looks pretty much the same right now as the GFS model, but it did form a little bit more north, but it did form much more east than the GFS model. The GFS model formed it right over here just off the coast of Georgia, and this one has it forming just a few hundred miles off the coast of Georgia and Florida here. And let's move forward here. This is quite interesting here. As you get to this area, it looks pretty much the same as the GFS model, but this snow is going much more south, impacting more of the NYC area, more of New Jersey, more of Delaware. There's also seeing that snowfall, and much more of Rhode Island is seeing very heavy snowfall here. This is going to be the area of extreme impacts according to the European model, with, look at this, 958 millibars. That is an extremely strong winter storm we're looking at here according to the European model. The GFS only had it at around a 976, and the GFS is known for overhyping these types of things, but as you look at the European model, it is kind of overhyping this as well. But it is looking like it's going to be overhyping this winter storm rather than the GFS looking a little more realistic here. 954 millibars. We sometimes see that in a category 4 hurricane like we saw in Laura in 2020, which is pretty insane here. As you see, it weakens at 958 millibars here at around 12 a.m. of the 30th, and that weakens very quickly here. It starts off with an extremely heavy snowfall, and then it quickly weakens as you head throughout the overnight hours of the 29th into the 30th, and that pretty much exits the whole area in the morning hours of the January 30th. Both models are a little bit different, but they're actually agreeing this time on the actual track at least a little bit. So we did have a major update today. If you did enjoy the update on these models runs, you want more model runs, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you are new and turn on post notifications so you won't miss another upload or live stream on the channel, and so you will keep up to date with these latest model runs, especially if you live in the Mid-Atlantic or the Northeast. But as always, stay safe.